Salesforce just released their 6th edition of the State of Marketing Report for 2020. And in this video today, I'm going to talk to you about 3 key takeaways that I have from the report that I think are most important for marketers. So the very first takeaway is around measurement. So 2 stats that really stuck out to me in this Salesforce report. The first was that 41% of marketers do not measure direct ROI for their campaigns. This is huge, right? You don't know how big your marketing budget should be or what you can afford to pay to acquire a customer unless you understand your ROI, right? And you also don't know which channels are giving you the best ROI. So extremely important thing to work on. I think a lot of people struggle with this, not because it's difficult, but just patching together a lot of different sources or not having, your tracking set up correctly. So what we try to talk to clients about is it doesn't have to be perfect, right? You might still have a couple edge cases, one particular channel that you can't, measure ROI on completely, but you got to get closer to that end goal to be able to answer some of these key strategic questions like how much can I afford to pay to acquire a customer? Or, how much does it cost me to acquire a customer in, PPC versus Facebook, right? So the customer lifetime value piece of this is kind of tied into ROI. So stat from the report, less than half of marketers measure lifetime customer value. And I think this is important because if you're not measuring it, you're potentially limiting your growth opportunities. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you are measuring ROI, but you're not measuring customer lifetime value, you may think you understand what you can afford to pay to acquire a customer, but the reality might be much larger. So what that means is if you're selling yourself short on your customer acquisition costs, then maybe you're not able to be quite as competitive as you'd like, or maybe you don't grow quite as quickly, right? When you're able to clearly show a customer lifetime value, it gives you much better direction in those decisions. Again, something else where you don't have to overthink it. It doesn't have to be measuring the customer lifetime value for every single individual customer. Even just having a good understanding of what your average customer lifetime value is can be extremely helpful in making budgeting decisions and measuring ROI and all those kinds of things. So the second takeaway from the report that I want to talk about is a kind of a surprising one. There's a great section in the report where they asked marketers to score their internal marketing teams on a whole bunch of attributes. And the lowest attribute, the lowest scoring attribute for marketing teams was emotional intelligence. And we talk about empathy quite a bit. I think that empathy or the ability to talk about your customers' problems, how those problems make them feel, right? To acknowledge that in your marketing is one of the most powerful kind of tweaks or changes you can make to see results in your copy, in your creative, right? On your website, in your ads. Empathy is huge. And that's really what emotional intelligence is all about. So the third point is kind of related to this idea of emotional intelligence or empathy. And I think it's just extremely insightful for this report. This idea of data setting the stage for empathy is huge, right? So if you think about it, the way that empathy gets operationalized in all of your marketing is through personalization, right? When someone can see an ad or see something on your website where they say, you know what, this person really understands me. It's about getting more granular with that. So what does that mean? There are a lot of different kinds of data sources that you can use. So there are kind of direct kind of transactional data sources like the customer data that you actually generate from your site when someone makes a purchase. There is inferred kind of preferences or data like where someone visits on your site, the pages that they go to, right? That tells you a little bit about who they are. If you have a site that has different industry verticals on it or different, treatment pages or things like that. When someone visits particular content, it tells you a little bit of something about them. And then there's, of course, data that gets collected through forms and things like that on your site. So we're all collecting that data, but using that data is really the key piece here, right? If you want to be more empathetic in your emails, on your site, in your ads, you have to use some of that data to help personalize the experience. So I love this idea of the role that data plays in being able to execute empathy and kind of level up all of your, empathy in your marketing to make it more personal. So as always, if you have questions, if you're looking to, get better reporting, better track ROI or customer lifetime value, or trying to get more empathy in your marketing, make sure to visit runneragency.com, click on that request a consultation button, and get some time to talk to us about your challenges and to talk about empathy, to talk about measurement.